So do you really need a Super Duty to tow our off-road campers?
We should jump into that.
What's up, Shane?
What's up, Randy?
Not much. I've been having a great time this week. Greatly appreciate you bringing me out here. And I'm one of the new sales coaches here at ROA Off-Road in South Carolina. And as a new sales coach, one of the biggest questions that I get, well, first let me pause, as I drive a Honda Ridgeline, insert laughter now.
We laugh, I laugh every time I hear that. Sorry, no offense to any Honda
But
people.
the biggest question I get is about towing.
That's a great question. Welcome to Utah, by the way.
Thanks.
It's been fun hanging out with you, the team, and you know, it's just been a blast. And we've actually towed probably 500. By the time we're done with this trip, it will be in between 500 and 1,000 miles, maybe around 8 to 9-ish or so. And we're getting a lot of towing done, and we've towed here. We don't have, Michael came down with us originally.
Yep.
And he had a mid-size truck. And then we have a half-ton, or an F-150.
Yep.
And then we have a 3/4 ton, which is an F-250, Super Duty. The question is, do we need a Super Duty? And the answer is, it depends on which trailer you're towing.
I knew that was gonna be the answer.
So it depends on which trailer you're towing. Now, a good rule of thumb is the bigger truck is going to equate to a better towing experience, period. So the best towing trucks are gonna be your 450s, 550 dualies. Now, do you wanna tow those with an off-road trailer? Probably not. Generally speaking, my recommendation for all of our trailers, I would say at the top end, F-250 or 3/4 ton,
Okay.
or 2500. Which one do you think? Do you know? Those are all the same thing, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, what kind of question? I know that.
You know
I
that.
knew that. I was like, those are all the same, Shane.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about towing, and this is just really basic towing, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people are always asking, like, what's the difference? What truck should I get? And so just so everybody knows, an F-150, that's Ford's badging, right? So
Yep.
you come over here and look at this. You're gonna see our F-150. And some people get a little bit confused because they'll say, that's a half-ton, right? Which it is. That's what
Yeah.
it's called, a half-ton F-150. And that's really your payload and weight in the back. That's what that half-ton usually stands.
Gotcha.
Now, what about a Ram and a Chevy?
Well, the Ram's just gonna, isn't that just the Ram, and then the Chevy's like a 1500?
Well, the Ram's a 1500
Is
as
it?
well. Yeah,
Okay.
so they have 1500.
Zero, yeah.
So people get a little bit confused. Ford should have done another zero to not confuse everyone, but whatever. You know,
Yeah.
Ford's gonna do Ford, and I'm not in charge of that. Yeah, so if you see a Chevy and it just says 1500, that's 1500, or you'll see a Ram and it will say 1500. It's the exact same thing as an F-150. So that's where people all the time, well, that's an extra zero, so it must be heavier.
Yeah, it must be different. Yeah, but it's not. No, it's all the same.
It's the exact same.
And the same with GMC, because which GMC is Chevy.
Yeah.
You know, they're all the same.
And
so
it will
they
say
have GMC 1500s.
Yeah, 1500.
So, yeah.
And 1500, once again, is half ton, right? So what trailers can you tow here at ROA with a half ton? What would you say? I'm putting you on the spot. You're the new sales coach.
I'd say all the way up to Dweller 15. You can do all the Taxa. You can do the Dwellers, the Escapade, all the UEVs. Pretty much everything except even the Imperial Outdoors X145.
I would do Imperials. I would do a 195.
You could do a 195
I would
with
do a
these?
195. I'd do a Roamer 1. Now, with some caveats of like, maybe you might want an airbag system installed. You might want a weight distribution hitch installed. I've towed the Roamer 1 with an F-150 probably the same amount as I have with my 2500 Ram.
Gotcha.
Right? And I think it tows phenomenal down the road.
But are folks going to be more comfortable with a 2500 versus a 1500?
So this comes down to like, and this is why this is the number one asked questions, because there's so much information to go into.
Yeah.
And it becomes pretty difficult. So over here is a 2500. Now, behind this, we're carrying a Pause, right? Big, heavy trailer. This is the heaviest trailer we have in the class of trailers that we carry. F-250, absolutely recommended to carry a Pause. Roamer 1 and a Imperial 195 or any of those trailers, I would say if you go with an F-250 and you've never towed much in your life, I would say you're going to be really happy you did that,
Okay.
right?
That makes sense.
If you have a lot of experience towing, I think you could get by with an F-150 just fine. And if you were a little bit uncertain, you could throw on a weight distribution hitch, which that's a whole nother video that we could talk about, but we're not going to talk about that. Reach out to the sales coaches and we can explain to you what a weight distribution hitch is.
Definitely.
But an F-250 is going to be fine for all of our trailers, from the smallest to the largest. Diesel is ideal. So a lot of people are going to be like, well, can I get an AT4 or a Power Wagon, or, you know, it's because those are 2500s.
Yeah.
With a pause, right? With the Roamer and the Imperials, I would say, yeah, for sure. Power Wagon's going to be okay. The funny thing is the Power Wagon actually has a lighter payload than the F-150. What that is tongue weight, right? Putting the hitch on the back of the truck. The Power Wagon's actually, I think, 1,100 pounds. And this is going to be about probably over 2,000 pounds, which is crazy because the Power Wagon's 2,500. And now what's another name for 2,500? So people know.
Well, 250.
250 and 3/4 ton.
3/4, yeah.
Yeah,
3/4 ton.
Okay. So a lot of people are always like, because you have half ton, you have 3/4 ton, and you have 1 ton.
Yep.
1.5 ton, 2 ton, whatever.
Well, the numbers throw you off because you would think this would be a 1/4 ton because it's 250, but it's not. It's
3/4 ton. Yeah, it's a 250, 3/4 ton,
It's
right?
like, what?
And then once again, Chevy, Ram, and GMC, they're going to call it 2,500. They'll add another zero
on it. Yeah.
It gets really confusing. People are always like, wait, what? Listen, if you're looking at off-road trailers that we carry, and all of our off-road trailers fully loaded are going to be under 10,000 pounds. 250 is going to be the max truck you ever need to get.
Yep.
People will roll in sometimes with 350s. Why? I don't know. Who gave them that recommendation? I don't know. I wouldn't give them that recommendation.
Whoa, wait, Shane. So what's the difference between an F-250 and an F-350 if I upgrade to an F-350?
So engine, generally, exact same engine. So right here, we're looking at this. This is a Power Stroke turbo diesel, 6.7.
Yep.
F-250. Chevy, they all have their different liter sizes, Ram, Chevy, and Ford. But since we got Fords here, we'll just talk Ford. 6.7 liter Power Stroke diesel, F-250. You get an F-350, you're gonna have a 6.7 liter Power Stroke turbo diesel.
That's right, because that's what we were looking up engine sizes last night around the campfire.
Yeah.
Of those, and it was like 250 and the 350 identical, right?
Identical engines. What about a 450? What do you think?
I think the 450 had a bigger engine, did it?
Nope, it had the 6.7.
It had the 6.7. Oh, that's right, because that F550 Global Expedition I brought back has got a 6.7. Yeah.
Yep. So people get really confused by this. They're like, wait, an F-250 has the same engine as an F-350? Wait, an F-350 has the same engine as an F-450? And an F-550 has the same engine as an F-250? They all have this exact same engine.
Correct.
So you're not changing engines. You're generally not changing transmissions. There might be some gearing or differences in the bigger versus the smaller. But for our trailer's sake, let's talk our trailers. And I'm not a truck, I don't want to come off as I know everything about trucks, because I don't. I have towed well over 100,000 miles, and I've owned a lot of diesel trucks.
Weren't you telling me that you had your learner's permit and you were driving a duelie when you were moving with your family?
No, that was actually a 1-ton.
Oh,
it was a
1-ton?
1-ton diesel truck, and I grew up camping. My dad's always owned vehicles. My parents have, and I think I was like 15, and we were moving from California back to Utah, and we didn't have enough drivers, and they're like, you can drive, right? And I'm like, sure. And my dad's like, well, I'll drive the U-Haul. You want to drive the truck in the fifth wheel?
So you have towing experience for sure.
Yeah. So I've towed growing up, and I've towed since I've been in the business for 15 years, going on 15 years. I've been towing all over the country, picking up campers, trailers, fifth wheels. I love towing fifth wheels. I've towed them a lot. Prior to us entering into the off-road market, 6 or so years ago, all we did was fifth wheels. And I typically was talking I was talking big trucks with people all the time. People were like, what type of truck should I get?
Dualies, all that stuff.
350, 450. People were always one. Cummins versus Chevy versus Ford, Ram, right? Or all of these different trucks, engines, and everything.
Yep.
And honestly, I don't want to rant about a certain truck being better than another truck, because I believe they're all great trucks. And this is from selling hundreds of trailers to people that own all the different trucks.
Yeah.
And everybody seems to love their truck, and their truck seems to run and do pretty good. And nowadays, warranties and trucks,
it doesn't matter what brand you're buying. It's check your weight limits on your vehicle, and Does the GVWR come into play? Does that help people determine their towing? Because that's a lot of confusion out there, because you have so many different things.
There's a bunch of different vehicle weights. So you're gonna have like your dry weight or your empty weight of the truck.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna have your loaded weight of the truck, which is like what you can load on the truck itself.
And
then you're gonna have a combined weight.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily the what's in the truck, but also what's behind the truck. And nowadays Ford, all of the big truck companies, if you're looking at F-250s, they're usually rating their trucks anywhere from 18 to 20 something thousand pounds.
Yeah.
You get to a 350 and they're rating it for 20, 30, 40,000 pounds.
A locomotive.
It's crazy. It's crazy what the big ones can do. And you might say, well, that makes no sense. They all have the exact same engine. Well, that's where the changes happen with some of the a Super Duty 25 versus a 3500. They might have different coolers, different brakes, heavier duty. They're gonna have, the suspension is a big thing, right? A 350, the biggest difference between a 350 and a 250 is going to be the rear end suspension and payload, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna have maybe up to 4,000 pounds on something like this. I'm not giving you exact numbers, rough estimates. 4,000 pounds that you can throw in the bed of that truck, which is crazy, which means you'll have a big tongue weight.
Yep.
You'll be able to pull a pause, right? You go to a 350, you might have 7,000 pounds. You can put, you could cement your truck, just fill it up with cement and gold bars on top of that. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
You don't need 7,000 pounds in the bed of your truck to pull a pause. That's outrageous, right? And so the difference for you as a consumer driving a 250 versus a 350, you will feel the difference driving down the road. When you hit bumps, a 350 is just stiff as can be.
Yeah.
Because that's why it can
have all that compression of the weight on the suspension.
And it's not gonna hurt. But what happens is when you hit a bump, that suspension doesn't give. It just bounces the whole truck, right?
This did really well. I was very impressed, and that's what made us talk about this today, was the differences in the 150, because we always get the same questions. So, but yeah, this thing, it drove great. And of course, the independent rear suspension on all of our campers just floats. It just floats.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, I mean, an F-150 as a daily driving down the road, it's gonna be a more comfortable ride. This is not gonna be as comfortable. It's a little bit more of a truck to handle, but it's definitely going to tow way better. And this thing actually drove really nice.
Yeah, for being in this for 3 days, I've been riding around with you in this.
Oh yeah.
And it's been a joy.
Talking about the pause and this, right?
Yeah.
How did you feel it was towing on the highway?
It did great. We did a couple of tests, and it went. We found that it has oversized tires, and so what we had on the speedometer was about 7 miles less.
7 to 8 miles. So the faster you go,
are we allowed to say how fast we went or no?
Well, it wasn't our fault, but we pulled ahead. Our camera guys were driving this F-150, and we pulled ahead, and the speed limit's 80 miles per hour. So
which is amazing. Never seen that before. Never seen that before in my life.
In the East Coast, right? So I pull onto the highway and I immediately put cruise control 80 miles per hour, and I just pull away from these guys, and they're like, "Why are you going so fast?"
What happened? Where are they?
So we pulled up our Waze and it was going 88. Was it 88? 80?
They've gone to Plaid.
Wait, 88 miles
80
per
miles
hour?
an hour. I didn't see any flames.
Flames. We didn't
Yeah,
go
it was
to
like 80.
Back to the Future.
Yeah, it was 88, 89. I think it went up.
Yeah.
To 87.
So we're flying like 90 miles per hour, and then they're like, "Why are you going so fast?"
My brains are going into my feet.
And then we like pulled up our, and we're like, "Oh yeah, the bigger tires." So when you do actually, just tip of the day, when you change out your tires, you can get your computer reset to actually adjust your speedometer for your tire size. You got to go to an off-road shop that knows how to do that, and they can plug it in. And
gone are the days where they pull the gear out and put the gear in.
Yeah.
That used to be old school, but now they can
like a recalibration. They put it in, and typically a place that's doing lifts can do this, if they don't do that, then they're not really a good place to enlist.
Yeah.
Yeah, your neighbor next door throwing on a lift kit, that's probably
There's
not
nothing
gonna
wrong
be-
with that. I do those all the time in my driveway.
No, it's okay, but you might not get the recalibration
Yeah,
done,
yeah.
and then you'll think you're going like 80, but you're going 90.
And then you get pulled, and it's like, well, how fast were you going?
Yeah, but speaking of going almost 90 miles per hour, with this Super Duty 2500 diesel, I flew down the road with that pause, and oh my gosh, it towed
Yeah.
so good. Now, and I was a little uncomfortable. At 80, I got up and I'm like, man, this feels a little uncomfortable. And then when I realized I was going almost
We were going almost 90.
almost 90, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's why it feels uncomfortable. So I backed it off a little bit, and
We
I
do
actually,
like 75,
75.
I think.
I
was
dropped
real
it down.
comfortable. Yeah, which surprised me because with my stick and staple camper, if I'm over 65, it's bouncing and flopping all over the
Oh, yeah.
road. The semi trucks are blowing it off the road.
I even, as I saw some semi trucks, I slowed down a little bit around to 70. But with the Super Duty, I have my Power Wagons. It is technically a Super Duty, but it's not a diesel, and it has a shorter wheelbase, and that's a whole nother can
wheelbase,
of worms of things that we could talk about when it comes to towing. If you go short bed, single cab, that's going to limit your towing. If you have a mega cab, 4-door, long bed, that's going to increase your towing and your overall wheelbase. But the thing about a Super Duty and a diesel, the weight of the truck is a lot more. So your weight ratio to the trailer,
Gotcha.
if you can be a heavier truck than a heavier trailer, the trailer doesn't control you. And this is the issue, is when people are trying to tow big trailers and their trailer weighs a couple thousand pounds more than the truck.
Yep.
What happens is the trailer starts controlling the truck. You're braking and that trailer's just pushing you. And if it starts swerving around, it wants to whip your truck around. If your truck is heavier, it can't do that.
Well, you said something like, let the truck drive the trailer, not the trailer drive the truck, is what you said to me. And I was like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Because there's been plenty of times when you're on you have a camper or a trailer, anything, and you feel it pushing on the hitch. And all these off-road campers that we sell, I don't feel that, because it's just a nice independent float suspension as it goes
absolutely.
over.
But the key is the right truck too, right?
Yeah.
Connected to
Yeah,
it.
definitely.
Because you could get a Honda Ridgeline and try to tow it, pause, and be a bad.
No,
You have, right?
Yeah, I pull them around the yard. I've never gone on the. I've done the 16.4 with the Ridgeline. I've done the X145 and the
Okay.
Escapade and the Dweller 13, the Patriots. And so that I've everything below. I think the 16.4 and the 145 are our heaviest,
The heaviest
and
one.
below that. But we have people calling us with Tacomas, Gladiators, and Jeeps, and I really feel bad for the Bronco folks, because we get a lot of Broncos that want to tow, and their towing is really low, like 3,500 pounds.
That's frustrating for people because you look at the Gladiator and it's rated to tow 7,000 pounds, right? If you get the max tow package and you go get a Bronco and you're thinking, hey, it's like a Jeep competitor,
Yep.
and it's only rated for 3,500 pounds, and lots of people go away like, what?
Yep.
I didn't know this.
And they get a Woolly Bear or something like that for those, but
Now, there are trailers.
yeah,
that
there's
we
trailers,
carry.
and we have trailers, but you have to upgrade if you want to pull a pause.
Yeah, you want to pull a pause. You want to pull this guy. You can this Mantis, in my opinion, an F-150 is too much truck for that Mantis.
Yeah.
Like if you have an F-150, you're not even gonna know the Mantis is behind you. You could easily pull this with most mid-sized trucks. It's a light trailer. All of our Taxa products are generally very, very light. And so you almost, Subaru is where you gotta be careful with, right? Some of those cars, they have a really low tow rating.
Well, the reason I said Subarus is because folks call us with those, and like we'll do Escapades or a Patriot or something. So there's usually something that we have that will fit your vehicle. But what's sad is, folks will come see us about a pause and show up with a 1500. And people, if they're buying a pause, they upgrade their vehicle. They go and trade it in. I've actually had pauses that have been purchased, and they sit waiting for our guests to get their new truck, because they're waiting on their truck.
Waiting on their
Their
truck.
pause is ready to go, but their new truck is still being built. So
yeah, and be warned, right? Like, and I don't want to like scare you or anything, but I here at ROA, we've talked with our sales coaches a lot about, like, I sometimes find myself talking more about trucks than I do trailers, right? And it's crazy. And I have noticed that a lot of camper dealers in the marketplace, people will like, I've just heard this 100 times from people coming in
Yeah.
with a trailer that's way too big for their truck, and the dealer was like, yeah, you'll be fine, right? Don't worry about it,
Don't
right?
worry
You'll
about
be good,
it.
right? And
Sign
it's
here
like,
and drive off the lot. Never,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear from you again.
yeah, and you know what? Like the reality is this F-150 could easily pull this pause through the town, through the city.
Yeah.
It squats it a bit, right? You know, I put some airbags in it, and I could, you know, get it lifted up, and I could pull the pause around. Personally, I could probably pull the pause with an F-150 across the country, right? But
Yeah.
I have 100,000 miles of towing experience. And around town, you might not notice it. But once you get up to highway speeds, you're going down, you know, huge declines. If you're going in the mountains, now all of a sudden you have a huge trailer that's just, you know, it's really controlling your truck. A gust of wind, a semi-truck,
Yep.
you know, you need to slam on your brakes. That's where things get dangerous, right? Could you get by with an F-150? Technically, maybe so, but like, it's not something we would recommend.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it
I wouldn't
at all.
recommend it. Yeah, and I've towed this pause with an F-150, wasn't comfortable. I've towed it with my Power Wagon. I can manage, but that's because I have a lot of towing experience. This is actually the first time I've pulled the pause with a diesel 2500.
You had a good time.
I'm in love.
I know you had a good time.
I got rid of my diesel trucks over 5 years ago as
Yeah.
we started getting more into the off-road. And this weekend has like made me rethink. I'm like, maybe it's time to trade in the Power Wagon and go get myself a diesel. Man, this thing, the torque, the power, it was lovely.
That's funny. You're talking about changing over to a diesel, and I was talking about going to a Gladiator because I drove a Gladiator with only 2-wheel drive. He had some systems issues with it, and we were pulled a BRS Off-Road Sherpa, and I had a blast towing it in 2-wheel drive. I could only imagine what it could do in 4-wheel drive with all the sway bar disconnects and all that fun stuff.
Those things flex, and that's the reason why I bought the Power Wagon, because the Power Wagon has sway bars, front and rear lockers. It's essentially a Jeep Rubicon, but in a 2500.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
That's what it is.
That's what they built. All
Yeah,
right,
that's
I
what it
gotcha.
is. It is the most off-road capable truck, but it's not the most capable towing truck. It's
Yeah.
actually, my wheelbase and my total length is actually shorter than this F-150.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a little bit. I had one and I couldn't put it in my garage, and my Power Wagon fits. You know, so it's a little bit more compact, which is not ideal for towing.
That's another thing. It's like garages fall into the play of what camper and what vehicle to get.
There's so
driveway slopes
the driveway
fall
slope.
into it. There's like all this different things. It's so much fun
Figuring
being
out.
new to ROA because you get all these questions. I'm out there measuring campers, letting air out of the tires, filling it with water, compressing the suspension, and it's like, no, you're shy by 1 inch.
1 inch into your garage.
But yeah, I
no,
never
there's
thought-
a lot of there's so, and hey, listen, one of the things that I'm always telling everybody, heart of a teacher, you know, like, and I say this to even consumers, right? Anybody that's looking for a trailer, not even a trailer, you walk into a store, right, or anything, electronics store, and you want to know something about a computer, you can sense if somebody comes to you and wants to starts asking you questions. Well, what are you looking for? What are you trying to do? Is it for work or is it for leisure? Are you trying to play video games? And see, that's a heart of a teacher. It's somebody that immediately starts trying to find out what's best for you, opposed to somebody coming, oh, come get this one. It's on sale. Maybe his commission's higher. Maybe it's
right.
aged inventory.
It's all about price.
He's trying to push it or something.
Yeah.
And so I every time I go into any type of business, I always think to myself, do these people have the heart of a teacher? It's one of our core values is teaching, right?
Yep.
So are you teaching, are you educating, or are they selling you? Hopefully people don't feel like when they come to ROA, they're ever getting sold. Yes, we do sell trailers.
Yeah, we do.
But we want to help you. We want to guide you and get you the best trailer for you, not the best trailer for us.
To sell you.
To sell you, yeah. So
it's not about selling, it's about the experience. That's what I've learned working with you guys.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Well, thank you. You have any questions? I know there's a lot of details as towing. If you want to know some specific questions, maybe make a comment below and we can do another follow-up video and talk more detail into trucks and just all of the trucks, you know, all the ranges of trucks and maybe what we can and can't tow with these trucks. So go down and ask some questions. Thanks so much. Don't forget to subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Come see us in South Carolina.
And if you'd like to see a brochure on the all-new blacked out pause unit, or even to talk with our sales coaches regarding your truck or any of our units, click on the link below or give us a call.